How's your book doing, Christina? I wrote a book about branding, and I guess I don't know what to make of our idea. I think I like the idea. People seem to be releasing books, smaller books, in greater numbers at once. Christina has a plan to release several of them. I don't know whether you're part of Nick, the bipolar writer, who's going to releasing 3 books at once. I'm thinking, why do you do that? We need to mark our books, but I'm asking the question. If anyone knows, please come and share with me. Imma, welcome. So that Dr. Islam and I do have a room on Tuesday to do journals. We'll talk about creativity in companies. How do you put creativity into your business? Paulette, and I know you've been there before, so do come and share with us. It's just after our room, Paulette, our children's anxieties room. So, hopefully you come and share. Had a big brand to do it.
Okay.
Anyway, how are you, Paulette? How are you, Cyrus?
I feel great. Thank you so much. Paulette?
I am what am I? I'm recuperated.
Oh, that's nice.
And
Yeah.
raring to go. Raring to go, but with boundaries.
I like that. Raring to go. See, normally you come back from holiday tired, needing another holiday.
No, completely the opposite. I'm fired up and ready to go.
Excellent. Oh well, I could ask you how was holiday, but then I don't want to know. Hopefully, you come back to a load of work, Paulette. A load of things to do. You're in trade, it seems.
I'm going to be doing a podcast. How about that with my friend Cyrus?
What's that noise? So who's live with you today, Cyrus?
I am live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and on Facebook. And for those of us who don't know yet, we are being broadcast on all 3-4 platforms at the same time. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Gloom to Boom on LinkedIn and Spotlight on Facebook and YouTube. I've got the pleasure of being accompanied by Paulette as a business strategist, and Paulette Hallam as a business strategist, and Eni Osung as a marketing guru and marketing master. So a master marketer, Eni Osung, and also we have Islam, Anjan, Christina, Yima, Annie Foster, and Natalie Thomas as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about podcasting, as per usual. So, Gloom to Boom helps people improve their business with the help of our strategists. And, of course, applying the advice that the strategist will give you. If you could have a podcast, if you could start a podcast, what would you call it and why? That is what we are discussing today. Eni?
I think choosing the title for your podcast it feels very, very important. I guess I'm looking forward to learning today from you, Cyrus, whether there is a formula. I say that because I think when it comes to brands and brand names, there's we seem to think there is a science to it. Is there? I don't know. No, I don't know. Because some people will go with something unique, something out there. Some people go with something that's funny. Some people go with something that's very direct. So which is essentially they describe their service, in the name. I think all have their benefits. I think all have their pitfalls, right? But no, so we'll find out a good time. So I can't wait to learn from all of you today. How would you do yours, and how do you do yours? Natalie, welcome. I know you're on stage by default because not because you want to be on stage necessarily. I'm pretending we can't see you, Natalie. Natalie is one of my great friends on here, on LinkedIn especially. She does a lot of work on sustainability, disability, well-being. I could carry on, but Natalie is an amazing person. Yeah. If you want, of course, if you want to add to the conversation, just flash your mic. We'll, of course, love to hear your thoughts. If you're wondering where our friends are, Cyrus, our friends are in Felipe's room. Well, they will be here as they always do in the end. So I have no doubt that the room will fill up before we finish.
Sure. For me, it's always the quality over quantity, and
true.
And I was just wondering, how Natalie is doing today. And Islam, could you please join the stage for us as well? Leslie Flowers has joined us, guys. Thank you so much for joining the stage. Islam, I've got Natalie. Natalie, are you in a position to speak?
Hi, Cyrus. Hi, Annie. Hi, Paulette. Hi, Islam. Hi, Christina. Hi, Ma, and Jean, William, and Leslie. It's nice to see you all. I'm doing okay. I had a couple of half days during the week myself because I had a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm doing okay. Just innovating and answering opportunities. But yeah, it's all good, and Amazing. It's all thanks to you and Annie for launching me on this platform. To be fair, on the audio room, so thank you,
Natalie. You're one of the best people I know on this platform. It's always a pleasure. So I've got Amaka who's joined us through Facebook as well. She says hello from Texas. Oh, hello Amaka. Thank you so much for joining. So Paulette, you have this is great news, guys, right? Paulette, you have started a podcast recently. Your episode 1 is done, and you also posted something on LinkedIn recently saying your technical support, who is your son, is going to uni from tomorrow.
Yep.
And well, please don't worry. You're never on your own. You're never left alone. Okay, so that's what we
what
do
I
here.
actually said is all the gear and no idea.
Oh, you know what? You have all the gear that you need. You have all the gear, and you have the best ideas. You have a book. Tell us about your book, please.
So the current book that we've got out is Jack and Water in Newhouse Nerves, which is a transition book about a child who suddenly finds himself in a new place.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a new school, it could be a new house, it could be a new friendship group, it could be going to a different church, it could be whatever the transition is. The book will serve you because basically it teaches through the child's own voice, which is water. Water is the child's inner voice. Through its own inner voice, it helps the child organize his thoughts, and so that he can actually understand what's the right and what's the wrong thing to do. And it helps him become more emotionally intelligent over time. So as we go through other books, he'll become even more aware. And that's the exciting part. The older he gets, the more aware he becomes. And that's what Jack and Water is all about. It's about using your inner voice to help steer the ship.
Isn't it about
and we could do that as adults?
Sorry for interrupting you, Paul. Isn't it about getting more emotionally intelligent and more emotionally stable?
For sure, absolutely. And it's about making sure that instead of you not speaking up when something worries you, or being so fearful of repercussion that you let something happen that you shouldn't. This is about giving a child the ability to speak up. And that is so powerful. And in this day and age, more important than ever. So, that's what the books are all about.
Absolutely.
Empowering children.
Yeah. So if you agree, I was going to play a little bit of your podcast as well. How would you feel about that?
Of course, go for it. I haven't heard it.
So let's play a little bit of that. Your season 1, episode 1, Paulette.
Yeah, we're gonna have a party.
Oh, definitely. Can you guys hear this?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So, Paulette, please tell me, how long did it take you to create your episode 1?
About 2 hours.
And how long did you think about it before you created it?
That's such a rotten question. Probably days.
Days before you decided.
Before you decided. And worrying. Yeah.
I would
doing
say
exactly what we're talking about.
I would say podcrastinated.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, the thing is though, I don't know if everybody's got this hang up as well, and it might be interesting to say so today. I think we all have a voice that says, not the voice in our head. I don't talk about that. My own personal voice, what I'm hearing when you're playing it back to me. Is that how I really sound? Is that who I am? Is that how I speak? Is that what? Because that
you do sound very posh, Paul. You do sound very.
You sound very sweet.
You miss the English.
Yeah, and people call me Mary Poppins, and I hate it. But
I could imagine that bag on the desk next to you. Thinking you just took the microphone out of the bag.
Told you. Oh dear, yeah. The thing is that you never know how you sound properly. I mean, I know we're going to do the audiobooks, and so I would like to read the book. So I'm going to be doing that as well at some point. But the thing about the podcast is, for me, and this is, I can say this to everybody in the room, with the hand-holding that I had, which was, I couldn't have done it without Cyrus's hand-holding, because I really was scared. I was anxious. I had all the, I can't do this. But we did it, and we got there, and we even managed to get the second one, I think, more or less finished. And then we were trying to work out how to change the, whatever it is, taking it from one thing to another. And I wasn't sure about that. And I said, I'm going to have to have a lesson from Cyrus. So how do I turn it from this file to that file? And that's the thing, the only thing that's worrying me now. I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm ready. So you have got a very willing student here. So guys, take it from me, for somebody who spent days procrastinating or podcrastinating, it wasn't as painful as I thought, and I hope we get lots of people listening, and it helps people. So thank you, my lovely. You're a star.
You are the star of the show, certainly, Paulette. You know what I've learned working with after working with a lot of people who have good ideas. What I've learned is getting over the fear of the fear is the only thing you have to do. Just getting over the discomfort the fear is going to cause you. The fear of the fear. Think about it. It's and in the end, you will find out that it was all for nothing. You were scared of nothing. I talked to Leslie Flowers, and she has this book, phenomenal book called Irada. Okay, so let me play something for you guys. And this is about her book. Okay, so she has added a lot to this community. So let me advertise her a little bit. Just hold on a second, guys. Leslie Flowers. How's it going, Leslie? What an introduction, eh?
Oh, I mean, really, yeah, I didn't expect that. I was just going to say I'm not afraid. What? was that? Let me just say, I'm not afraid at all to do this. For me, it's really, the risk and reward. And so my conversations with Cyrus have been about, what is the benefit? What is the impact, especially with somebody who doesn't work very hard? I have a very limited schedule. And so I don't want to invest a whole lot of time in this. So that's kind of where I am. And it sounds like fun. And he created that. You can tell who loves podcasting, which is you, Cyrus. I mean, to create that song for me, right? I mean, and you wrote a script too. So I'll be getting back to you. But I think that, and I'd love to talk about the audio book avenue as well, if you're willing.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That is actually my main area of expertise, creating audiobooks. So
did you have no fear, Leslie? None at all?
No.
Is it me or has it gone silent?
Cyrus is probably talking to the mute button.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I had no fear at all, because I've done hundreds of lives, just, more lives and videos over the years than I could even count. So the idea about doing it is something I've done before in a different way. And so I'm looking at what are the benefits, and Cyrus was able to answer that. So no fear at all. But that's only because of extreme practice over the years, right? Does that make sense?
It does, actually. Yes, it does. So we had this slight issue of convincing Paulette to just say what she already knew, because she's the author. And if you're an author without a podcast, you need to find out why, because that is you. It's like flying with just one engine working. Just get both engines working and just soar higher in that beautiful blue sky. So so she wasn't.
Cyrus, the problem is that there are aircraft with a dozen engines. There are so many opportunities, aren't there? And ways to invest your time and money. So that, for me, it's more like, what is the greatest impact I can have for my investment? And does it outweigh whatever risk is involved? And so I like it. I think it's going to be fun.
It rather seems to be a really, really good book, and I just wanted to succeed. And in my humble opinion and in my experience, that if you created a product and you're not talking about it, how do you expect other people to find it worthy of being talked about? And how would you expect them to talk about it? So the first thing, it always starts from you, right? So, hi everyone, I wrote this book and I endorse it. Then it goes further on and on and on. And somebody like Cyrus comes along and says, okay guys, I've read the book, I like it, I recommend it. But I can't recommend something on a platform that doesn't exist, if that makes sense.
Yes, and let me just tell you, there was a fear as I look back, but it wasn't the fear of public speaking, right, or criticism. What I felt when you played that music was, am I worthy?
You are.
Well, thank you. But that comes back from when I was a child, when we're children, and our self-esteem. So for a minute I thought, is he singing about me? Right? I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels that, but it's humbling, I guess, is what I would say.
My devotion always goes to real celebrities. Like, to me, a real celebrity is somebody like you and Paulette and Annie and the rest of the fantastic people in this room. We are the real celebrities. If we don't celebrate each other, we will not be the celebrity. Okay, so that's the true and pure meaning of it, right? So I celebrate you guys, and you guys are my celebrities. I don't care about that person who's in the public domain and making millions of dollars, and who's got these phenomenal mansions and this and that. That is not, that to me, that is not being a celebrity. A celebrity is someone who stays up for extra 2 hours, despite the fact that she was under like a lot of sedatives or medication and stuff, and writes extra 2 pages because she knows she's going to change the world. That is, to me, that is a celebrity. Okay, and to me, a celebrity is somebody like yourself, Leslie. You are writing to change. You are writing to make the world a better place. To me, you are my celebrity. You are my hero. Paulette is my hero because she writes to change. She writes to reduce the amount of anxiety in somebody's heart and mind, right? So that is the true meaning of celebrity for me. So that is the reason why I am helping you guys. And when one of my teachers once told me, if you want to solve a problem, solve a millionaire's problem, and you've solved the problem, and you'll have no problem getting paid. But I found a little bit of flaw in that. I don't care if that person is a millionaire or not. What are they doing? What problem are they solving? So what if they are millionaires or not? That's the amount of money they've got in their bank account. I don't care about that. What are you doing for the world? What are you doing for us? What are you doing for this community? Okay, that's what really matters. So I've got Eni as an example here. I can mention him. What is he doing? So he's creating a platform. Who is he creating it for? He's creating it for people who want to have a podcast. And it's for people who have a business, but the business is struggling a little bit, right? So when you're ill, what do you need? A little bit of TLC. When your business is not making money, your business needs a little bit of TLC. The business is like a child. You have to help that child navigate its way through the confusing world that child is living in right now. So I've got Islam. Good. Before I go to Islam, and hi Matthew as well. Thanks for joining. I just wanted to welcome Linda, Lara, Zara, Anjan, Yima, Sandra, Kelly, Dr. Marcia, Crystal Behi, Jose, Angel Pereira, and Dentist, and William Planche. I hope I didn't murder your names, guys. Sorry if I did. Christina would like to join the stage as well. Thanks for joining. Now, before I move on to the next point, Eni microphone is yours. And I hope you're not eating your biscuits, Eni.
I was minding my own business, and then now you make me have to speak. Yeah. So I'm glad Dr. Leslie was on stage. I think, going back to Paulette's point, Paulette's podcast, I think it's important to have clarity, to have a clear voice. I don't have a clear voice. I say that because now I think podcasting is something that many people are going to listen to, right? And inclusion must be one of the things that we think about. So naturally, it's on stage. Not everyone would know that she uses the subtitles on this platform, for example. So I've had someone ask me, if you haven't got, if you're deaf, how do you listen to an audiobook, for example? How do you listen to a podcast? I think transcription then becomes the only, speech to text becomes the only option, really, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's a place there's more than a place, there's a need for clarity of voice that Paulette has. It's a great thing. Right. What else do you want to talk about, Cyrus? What else do you want me to address?
So, me, Leslie, and Paulette, we already talked about getting the fear out of the way, like getting all of your concerns out of the way. So, some people call it worries, some people call it fears, whatever you want to call it. Okay, just get it out of the way. What you want to achieve is lurking behind your fears, right? So, let me tell you a little bit of difference in my strategy and many other people's strategy. So, for me in life, things are a little bit different. In my head, things are happening with a little bit of difference. Let me share that difference with you, and you guys tell me what you think. So, generally speaking, people look at success in this way. They say, I am running after success. And it's like success is running away from me. So everyone's like, yeah, I am running to catch success, as if success is this thing that is running away from them, right? So for me, success is like radio waves that are being transmitted. Okay, I have to adjust that satellite dish so I can catch those waves coming towards me. So I should keep the communication channels open. So for me, the best way to describe the situation is to not do things that make success run away from me, right? Do things that are aligned with success that I'm actually trying to achieve. So most people want to sell. Can you name someone who's got a product and doesn't want to sell it? I can't. So most people's actions are not 100% aligned with their intentions, okay, to succeed. So everyone says, oh yeah, I want to succeed. But when you look at them and look at their activities, and when you try to view, actually have a bird's eye view from their activities, you don't see an alignment. And their brand and their strategies are their brand is they are suffering with brand dislocation, if you will. So it's like dislocating someone dislocating their ankle, or I don't know, or the knee. So the limb is still attached to them, but it's dislocated. So in the brand's case, the brand is still there. They are going on social media platforms and they're advertising, etc., etc. But they're not doing it right, and that's how I've coined that phrase, brand dislocation. So please make sure when you're creating that persona, when you're creating that name for your podcast, it's absolutely aligned with the message you want to send. I have friends who have who are experts in multiple disciplines, but when you are in front of that microphone, so just to give you another example, I know how to do marketing, but I'm not talking about marketing here. We're talking about finding a title for the podcast. We're talking about the podcast. We're talking about getting over our fears regarding podcasts, right? So we're talking about the psychology and the rhyme and reason behind naming a podcast, right? I'm not talking about marketing here. So if you have different if you're an expert in different disciplines, it's fantastic, it's brilliant. But stick to that one thing that you want to discuss in your podcast, starting with name. Okay, so what should you observe? What should you be careful about before naming your podcast? So one of the things that you need to be careful with is making sure you are clear. And another thing is that because you want to stick out, right? You need to focus on your uniqueness. What is it that makes you different? Don't, if you're a singer, don't try to be another Elton John, because somebody else called Elton John is busy being Elton John, right? So you go ahead and be whatever brand you want to call yourself, or whatever name you want to call yourself. So be unique. Don't be just another face in the crowd. Okay. So, and you also need to make sure it's a memorable and catchy name. So now that's brand positioning for you. How would you like to position yourself? Just another name, or is it going to be something that makes sense and it's catchy, right? So your tagline is a very important thing as well. Make sure it rhymes. People remember things that rhyme, right? If I say, if you're happy and you know it, Paulette, what are you going to say?
Clap your hands.
Clap your hands. There you go. So she didn't think. She didn't have to think. because it's already automated and it's already internalized in her head. So when you make things, turn things into songs, so that's the reason why I write the lyrics for my people, really, should I call them, for my tribe. This is my tribe around me. So when I write the lyrics, I keep in mind what the book wants to say. And I'm almost certain that Paulette agrees that the Jack and Walter song that I wrote for her is aligned with Paulette's brand.
See, question for you, Cyrus. Question for you, Paulette. Same question, right? What's Paulette's podcast called?
Paulette, you're going to have to help us here.
Jack and Walter.
Jack and Walter. And the website is Walter on the Web.
And the book's a Jack and Walter series. I get it.
Yeah.
So,
it's the Jack and Walter book series. It's the Jack and Walter to everything. So it's got to be Jack and Walter.
Yeah, so that makes perfect sense, Paulette. So here's my story, Cyrus, and like I said, and I wonder what the answer is. So my last podcast, well, my first one, I was just being Annie, right? I was being funny. So it was Happy Hour, Happy Hour with Annie. And so I was interviewing local business leaders about their journey and what they do, right, and their passions and the sense of purpose and all that. But it is Happy Hour. Anyone who knows me knows I'm really happy. I'm quite grumpy, really. I'm joking. Yeah. So the least come expecting me to be cheerful and jokey. I'm like, no, it's a serious conversation. Anyway, so my second podcast was the Learn In with Annie Osung. The Learn In. You might figure it's a take off LinkedIn.
Yeah.
The podcast was about how to use LinkedIn. I spent years using LinkedIn to get clients from my clients. So I figured, let me teach people now let me teach them some of the tricks, but two, there's this strange fact that LinkedIn is always changing. Every day LinkedIn changes. That's why it glitches so much. They change something, but they won't tell us what they've changed. So my thing was to find those gems, those breaking news, hence the Learn In. I guess by the time I'd done 30 episodes of the Learn In, I wanted to change. I found other passions. I want to talk about business growth. That's my real thing, right? But I think the Learn In then became almost a constraint. How do you change topic when your name is so literal? Again, I guess I've done this more than once, Cyrus. And I say, in my business, of course, many of you know my business as Global.media, right? You must say, when I started my business, I didn't call myself the Marketing Pineapple. I wanted to call myself the Marketing Pineapple, by the way. I can explain that. My business was called Small Business E-Marketing. Can you see where I'm going with this, Cyrus? Change in my business, change in where I wanted to focus. I didn't want to. I know there's no money in working in small businesses. They're broke. So I figured I want to work with global businesses. Hence, I changed the name. I was saying choosing the name is so important, but this strategy.
Annie, I think Learn In.
Right?
Annie, Learn In.
Go on, Paulette.
Sorry, I'm just saying Learn In with Annie. Learn In with EN. Learning. So you play on your name. So it's learn, spelled with using your ENY. Learning with Annie. And then that doesn't matter what you're teaching. You're just learning with Annie. That would make it very simple.
Love it. Choosing names is a hard game, right? So you can tie yourself in knots, like I have on both times with the business and with the podcast name. No, but of course, you can talk about whatever you like, whatever your podcast is called, right? You can find other creative names. I wonder what your thoughts are on that, Cyrus.
That's That's a very good question. Before we jump to the answer, let me play something for you guys. This is Annie's website, guys. Annie, with regards to the discussion we just had, it's really important to make sure the concept that you are delivering to the ears and minds of the podcast listeners is not disjointed. Okay, so it needs to be coherent, right? So I'm not gonna create something about, like, I don't know, something like Leslie Flower's book. I'm not going to create something without having rhyme in my mind. Okay, so I'm not going to deliver something that doesn't rhyme. It has to rhyme. We're talking about magic. We're talking about magic powers, right? So I'm talking about the author. So when that song was written for Leslie, what we had in mind was the podcast before the podcast is created, right? So, you have to behave like a mother. When before a child is born, that mother's already bought the cot, that like I don't know, a Moses basket. If it's a boy, everything's going to be blue. If it's a girl, everything's going to be pink. Or everything's going. If it's a boy, everything's going to be fuchsia or purple. Or if it's a girl, everything's going to be, I don't know, orange. So it depends how that mother thinks. The point is that baby's not born yet. So why is that mother doing that some people call nesting? It's because a mother's mind dwells in the future. Okay, so that's how a mother's mind works. A dad's mind dwells in the future. So you have to think like a parent. So we mentioned Leslie Flower's name, Leslie Flower, the queen of magic. Leslie Flowers, the queen of magic powers, right? So you have to keep that person. You have to care about that person's podcast, and obviously it's your own podcast. If you don't care about it, who's going to care about it, right? I care about your podcast, but not many other people might do, because they are too busy caring about their own podcasts. So you have to keep that in mind before you create the podcast. And that's going to save you a lot of rebranding hassle. Okay, so that song that I've created for Leslie can be used in her podcast. It can be used in her audiobook. It can be used in her audio rooms. So it's a three-pronged attack on the same problem. The problem of not being known enough. Okay, so we are all known in this room. We all have friends, family, and we all have fans and followers. The point is to make sure you are strategic and intentional. I want to, when I listen to your podcast, I want to see that intentionality. So my brain goes, oh yes, what a beautiful podcast. What a beautiful intro. What a beautiful midtro. What a beautiful outro. Okay, so intro, midtro, outro. And what a beautiful concept. What a beautiful mic work. And the distance from the microphone is beautiful. And audio is one of those things. If it's fantastic, nobody says anything about it. People start talking when it's awful, right? So be mindful of the audio quality and the microphone quality that you are actually delivering to listeners. Respect your listeners, and then a community will be formed around you, and then that community will deliver the respect back to you. It's a perfect echo, right? So, thanks for waiting, Islam. If you had a podcast, what would you call it, and why?
Hi, Cyrus. Hi, Annie.
Hi.
Hi, Natalie, Paulette, Matthew, Dr. Leslie, Christina, Tracy, and everyone. Actually, I did lots of thinking about my brand since I'm talking about marketing and stuff that's related to marketing. So I chose the marketing maestro because everything in marketing has to be in harmony. And the maestro is the person who actually does the tuning, the fine tuning for everything that goes into marketing, whether it's the strategy, whether it's the execution, whatever the that goes into the strategy.
That's great.
When I when I first started thing, I did it with a friend of mine. It's called the podcast was called How It's Done. I did it with a friend of mine, and it was great. We did a couple of episodes, but like we had some difficult timings, like matching our timings together because he was in another state and I was in a different state, so we didn't have much of a time to discuss the things that we had to discuss. So we moved on. We decided it's better to move on to different podcasts. So I called it How It's Done, and it was basically the first seed that sprouted into my podcast world. After that, I embarked on a journey with Annie. Basically, we created different podcasts that before the ones that you are seeing today. I started a long time back with Annie, I think a year ago or a year and a half.
Mhm.
It was a hit, but it discontinued for some reasons. We got busy, we got preoccupied. We continued the series again. It's called Acing Your Marketing Game because I have created something called 100 Minutes to Acing Your Marketing Game. It's for all marketeers around the world, and it's dedicated to people working in the marketing field.
Yeah.
And these 100 minutes are basically the knowledge that I offer to all the marketeers around the world. It's being dubbed in. It's in English and it's being dubbed into Spanish, Italian, and Arabic.
I'm sorry, Islam, for interrupting you there.
Yeah.
I've got a memory of like a goldfish. I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to bear with me because there's a
Yeah.
point I have to make here. In the back of what you just mentioned, you have raised valid points, Islam. Thank you. So, when you're creating that brand name, when you're creating that podcast name, it's beyond a name. It's beyond a logo. What you're doing with it is more important than what it is, right? So basically, when I created, so I wanted to purchase a brand called WhenDidYouKnow.com, and I went online.
Uh-huh.
And it was too expensive, and somebody was selling it for thousands of dollars, and I couldn't afford it. So WhenDidYouKnow.com, but I wanted it so bad, and I thought, okay, so it's a predominantly female brand. So it's a clothing line, right? So I own that brand now, but it's not WhenDidYouKnow.com. It is actually Wendy, which is a female name, and then Juno, JUNO.com. So when you connect these two together, it's When Did You Know? That's like, when did you know? WhenDidYouKnow.com, right? So sometimes you have to get creative, and instead of saying when did you know, you can say when did you know. So I still got what I wanted, yeah, and I wasn't out of pocket for thousands of dollars. So listen, if you are intentional and if you focus on what you're doing, you will get it done. I promise you. Okay. So if I can do it, so can everybody. So can anybody else. Use ChatGPT. Get suggestions. Right. But when I created that, it was years ago. It was before ChatGPT was even invented. But right now, ChatGPT has made things a lot easier because it has all the it satisfied all of your grammatical and semantic needs, right? So thank you so much, Islam and Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us. If you were to create a podcast, what would you call it and why?
Hey, Cyrus. I like Eni's music, by the way. It kind of reminded me of like Egyptian music, and how you talked about parenting, parenting something. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, and there's certain ways to do things on social media, and for me, maybe I spend a lot of my life not focusing on all that, and maybe I am doing it wrong, but I'm not worried about that. Like, I honestly just try and put out something positive, regardless of which way to do it, to to show that the resilience, and to show that you can overcome. And I think right now I've seen this morning, I think, what Sadhguru talking about mental health in America, and it's probably all across the world. Like, it's in a crisis mode. I even watched my local church on YouTube this morning talking about it, and I think being like, just letting people know that they're not alone is a very special thing to do. I think something I have done myself with other people, and for me, I've had to try to find that line of I like, because I do value myself. I do care for myself, and I love myself for like how far I've come. And then, but I don't mind supporting other people. That's what it's about. That's what, like, the feeling of grace I got, kind of that kind of comes with it.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
So you've raised valid points, and I was just wondering, if you were to create a podcast, what would you call it and why?
Well, I kind of like my name on some of my platforms. It's kind of rhymey too. Like, infinite minds think alike. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. It stands out. That is fantastic. Do something about it, okay? And yeah, Leslie Flowers, I got your point. Thank you. I got your message. So Matthew, thank you so much for sharing with us. So now I'm going to move on to Christina, who's been patiently waiting there. Thank you so much for your patience, and thanks for waiting. My question for you, Christina, is, first of all, how is your day going?
Oh, pretty good, thank you. Actually, ended up checking into this audio room by accident, but yes, I did notice your title. So I've been aware of this room for a little bit because the title got my attention.
Christina, nothing's accidental in this life. All the decisions,
I know
the decisions I've made so far in my life, all the decisions you've made, has brought us to this moment, right? And
exactly.
we are here for a reason. Otherwise, we could be elsewhere in the same way we have been elsewhere in the past, right? So, Christina, if you could create a podcast, what would you call it and why?
So for me, it's kind of the question: what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? I did the book "Claim Your Space, Define Your Worth," and it's a series of 5. But yes, I'm thinking of associating a podcast with it. I've been doing audio rooms for a little over a year now with Angelica Corral, and it's been a
wow! What a legend, Angelica.
Yes, and it's been a series of audio rooms on branding.
Yes.
And getting started with your business, micro influencing, monetizing your expertise.
So what would
So it's
you
been,
what would you call the podcast though?
I would call it Claim Your Space.
Claim Your Space. You would.
That's why I said what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Yeah. So you would probably call it that, or would you definitely call it that?
I would definitely call it that. But then if it was my own podcast, because I do believe I have to, what you guys were saying about your books and your podcast. My book literally came out of kind of summarizing all of my thoughts and things.
Hello, Christina. I think Christina's got
Almost 2
disconnected.
years here only. Oh, are you there?
I am. Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, good. So when did you lose me?
So you mentioned my book.
Oh, so
that was a summary of your thoughts.
Exactly.
Which
so
is the nature of all books. They all usually come from somewhere's thoughts, right?
Yeah, exactly. But my thoughts specifically on on branding and what I've been doing as a consulting business. So I just wanted to create something to have available for my clients. But then as I was writing, I decided I'm just going to make it a series, and I realized this is what I've been talking about for the last couple of years. But I just want to put it all on paper or on screen, and have it there available for others. Try to distribute it. Some of them as free copies, some of them are for sale. But in general, just try to have a reference for somebody that perhaps doesn't have the option to listen into audio rooms or to become a full-fledged client. Now there is also the options of having these books. And so I would probably call it that.
Your idea is a phenomenal one. However, Claim Your Space has already been taken. So if you're thinking of creating a website for it, okay. So that's the message I've got. So please bear with me for a few moments, Christina. Please wait for me. So guys, I wanted to give you some advice about the name, finding a name for the podcast as well. So if the name of the podcast is same as the name of the website that you're choosing for your podcast or for your book, if everything is well connected, the results you're getting is going to be more consistent, and it's going to make your life easier, right? So Paulette had a suggestion regarding the name of your podcast, Christina. Paulette, could you please share that with us?
Go on, you can do it.
Say that again, sorry.
I said you can do it. It's okay.
All right, okay. So I'm going to mention that name that Paula just mentioned. I think it was Cigato Way.
Way.
Yeah.
So now, in other words, it becomes your way, the Cigato Way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool. With the last name.
Yeah, Cigato Way. So in a way, she just integrated your name with the name of your podcast, right? So okay, so you just exchanged some ideas here, right? And so far you've got two names, Christina. So that is, I would call that progress, because the contrast between the two names usually makes you make that decision much faster. Okay, so in your words, you said I'd probably call it that, and so there's a little bit of hesitation still there, Christina. You need to get rid of that hesitation.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Go on, please go ahead and tell me.
I'll tell you why. So first of all, that's exactly what came first, the chicken or the egg. So I've been talking a lot about having an hobby or a passion and turning that into, a successful business, finding way to monetize it.
Yeah.
And that's what I coach about, right? Mm-hmm. And so I even have a newsletter called Reveal Your Niche, that it's about that. It's advice on how to do all that, and, how to well, some of the topics we've been discussing here today are really the center of what I talk about. We talked about fear and confidence and just, taking a stab at it and things not being perfect. So I haven't thought, let's start my own podcast today and let's call it this. I've been, I'm somebody that loves collaborating with others. So I don't know that if I'm a solo podcaster, I like to have a partner. That's why I've been doing consistently these things with Angelica for over a year now.
Yeah.
And before that, I did them with somebody else. And I always join other people's audio rooms. So I don't know if that's my, something that, Leslie talked about investing your time in, using a tool or another. I definitely am comfortable with it, but I'm not sure. So today I was attracted by your podcast.
Oh, thank you. Are you investing your time in audio rooms?
Yes. I go to audio rooms.
When it comes to time, here's my advice to you. When it comes to time, time is never the problem. Prioritizing is the problem, right? So right now you're prioritizing your time, and you're dedicating your time to audio rooms. It takes the same amount of time to record a podcast. So if you record it and you put it on a hard disk somewhere and upload it, let's say to YouTube, then you have a podcast, right? So it's not your capabilities, definitely not your capabilities. And the reason you haven't got a podcast yet is because you are not convinced what it can do for you, and you are not convinced whether monetizing is going to happen. So you are too far ahead into the future, and that is called analysis paralysis. So you're getting too involved in the in what could happen or what would happen in the future, and you sit down with yourself and you think, if 10% conversion happens, how much am I going to make? And you try to analyze things. Then your brain gets too tired to do anything else. Okay, so please do not sacrifice your podcast to a possible success or failure ideology, right? So thank you so much, Christina. Next, we've got Tracy. Thank you so much for patiently waiting all this time. I am very sorry you had to wait for this long. Tracy, how are you doing today? And please tell us.
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much, Cyrus. And
fantastic.
My patience is limited because I can learn so much by listening to all of you. Thank you so much, everyone in the room and the people in the audience. You are big introverts and you are smarter than the people up here. Honestly, yes, because I used to be there too. I know you learn more by listening than talking. When you give, you actually lose the opportunity to receive. But by receiving, there are times you have to come up and provide as well. So I encourage you to come up and talk to Cyrus, talk to all of us who are willing to give our opinions, our ideas to you. We need to be mutual, feeding each other. Okay, then we can grow together. So if I ever start a podcast, I don't see that happening in the near future yet, because I don't want to donate my time in that area. It will drain me tremendously. I'm on a 20-hour per day workload right now. I only sleep 4 hours. I know I probably sound crazy, but that's how my schedule goes. So if I ever start a podcast, it's going to be called The Voice of Heaven. Why? Because I will be delivering the Bible, scriptures, all this relevant information instead of creating anything on my own, because that's the only truth I see. It's okay to repeat what other people say in the past, mental health, all these good topics, helping others. But I think there's only one truth from the Bible. It could be different religion. If you believe in Quran, you believe in Buddha, you deliver it, no problem. And you always have your audience. Everybody has your market niche. And I actually searched it up while I was listening to all of you talking. There's an orphanage in North India, actually, is also called The Voice of Heaven. And I think that's a good name if I ever started that one. If somebody take it, that's okay. I will just change it to something else.
I think you need to change it to something else, because I just checked and the Voice of Heaven is gone. Yeah, I just checked.
Okay. Then since I'm not going to start anyway, I'm just talking. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I want to share with you, Cyrus, about something about the Chinese side of the social media podcast development. So back in 2000, I think it's in 2014, Himalayas was the biggest platform in the Chinese speaking world. And there's a former TV host. I think his name, let me think. His last name is Luo. Okay, we call him Mr. Luo. And he's kind of chubby, so he usually call him Chubby L. So he started a something similar to podcast. Actually, he's the audiobook producer at the moment. He compiled a lot of Chinese books and as well as some English books together. He started to do this book digest, like a Reader's Digest thing, and then he started introducing all these books. So he became a phenomenon, and he moved away from Himalaya, that platform. He built his own app, and now, you know what he's doing right now? He's building colleges, universities offline, and even in the Chinese-speaking world, if you have his app on your phone and you attend his seminars, his universities, you can be like immediate hire. Because
Tracy,
that's the
I'm sorry for interrupting you. Does he have a podcast?
He does not, because podcast is not available to mainland China.
I respect him, but you are my focus, the focus of my attention.
Yes, right? the point I'm introducing his platform is that's where I see podcast is moving toward to. Right now, people are doing lots of audiobooks, right? Ideas, they're doing their separate podcast ideas. Yeah. But podcast versus YouTube is a couple of steps behind. Why? Because YouTube is taking away by TikTok. People's attention span is getting shorter and shorter, and they want to see those, very unique videos, short. Even YouTube is doing YouTube shorts for the younger generations in the 20 and below. Or maybe 25 and younger. So podcast is falling behind in that area.
You said something very important. You said, I am not prepared to dedicate my time to podcasting yet, right?
Right.
So can I please ask you, are you doing something else that is selling your product or services, or do you not have a product or service yet?
I'm mainly right now on Audible, and I do not develop my ideas at the moment, because I feel like whatever I have right now is more than enough I can handle. So I'm doing audiobooks for other authors and doing my Voice of Heaven, Bible evangelization. That's enough.
Tracy, let me give you some advice about this situation that you're experiencing. Okay, first of all, you're not alone in what you're experiencing. I was like you in 2014. I was thinking like you between 2014 and 2019, right? Then I was thinking, I don't have a product yet. I don't have a podcast yet. Then I learned from someone, when you don't know what to sell in your podcast, or what services to render, what services to produce and sell, turn yourself into a podcast, right? So you are Tracy Cao, is that right?
Try TSAO. That's the way we pronounce in Chinese. Zaga Cao, right?
Tracy Cao.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Oh, it's all right. So the best shortcut I can introduce to you is Tracy Cao Show. That's it. Okay. So, and explain about the fact that you don't have an idea yet, and share it with people. Then create a community around you. They will tell you what they need from you. So right now you are thinking about yourself. Shift that mindset, because you're going to be working for others. You're not going to, when you have a podcast, you don't do it for yourself. You're doing it for other people. If you want to enjoy it on your own, yes, of course, record them, but don't publish them. But if you want to look at, if you want to look at it the way you should be looking at it, is how is it that I can help other people? What problem is it that the market needs now? Okay, you just mentioned the problem. Let's find a solution for it. You said, which I agree to a great extent with, you said YouTube's platform is being hijacked by TikTok. Yeah, that's good. Talk about that. So share your thoughts. with your podcast listeners, whatever your thoughts are, there are people thinking like you, right? So look at these amazing people. Like there's around 20, 30 people in this room, right? So these people are thinking like me and you. That's why they're sticking. That's why we're sticking together, right? So think about it for a while, and perhaps we could meet in the next meeting, which is going to be in 2 weeks, and come back to us, please, definitely, and tell us within those 14 days, how has your paradigm shifted or not shifted, right? So, thank you so much, Tracy. And the next amazing person who's got a patience of a saint, really.
Excuse me, sorry. Let me just say something really quickly.
Please go
okay,
ahead.
I apologize for those inappropriate emojis because that's not me. It's my phone. Okay, my phone sends emoji out without me knowing it. Okay, thank you.
that's
Cyrus.
Please go ahead, Christina.
So, we're talking about podcasting here, and but when you're talking about podcasting, do you have a specific platform in mind, or do you consider the LinkedIn Audio Rooms one of those platforms?
When it comes to podcasting, please do not worry about a certain platform, because there are platforms where you can inject your podcast into, and you can upload it there, and then that platform will send it to all of the famous platforms. So you create, you send the RSS feed once, and then you can send it to all of those platforms. I think Audio Rooms and what's it called? The podcasts, they have their own function. Each of them, they have their own function. So Audio Rooms are really, really good for Q&A. That's what we are doing here. We are communicating, and it's not one way. Podcast is you recording yourself and sending it to people, waiting for a bit, and then you get feedback later. Okay, so feedback in Audio Rooms is more or less instant, but in podcasting it takes a short while. And when it comes to Audio Rooms or podcasts, what connects them together is the fact that, who is your employer? Ask yourself. People listening to you are your employers. You are working for them, right? And if you have a child, your child is your employer, right? You're working for your children. If you're a podcaster, you're working for your audience. It's not the other way around. And you have to be hungry for feedback from your people, from the community around you. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you so much, Christina. BJ Combs, thank you so much for joining. How's it going, my friend? And what podcast would you like to create?
Hi, how are you? Hello, everyone.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. Cyrus. Cyrus. Let me ask you a question. When you were a little boy and you were young, what was your first ambition as a profession?
I'm a guy. We
all little you boys. First remember.
I'm a guy. I always remain a little boy.
Yeah.
So when you're growing old, what's the point of growing?
No, I'm just asking you a question. I'm asking you a question. You asked me to talk.
I'm only joking. Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
So when I was a little boy, my only ambition was to create new things that didn't exist before. I would sit at my desk. I would design really, really strangely shaped devices, and I would assign functions to each of those devices. As an example, I would create something like a small computer, and I would call it dictation practice device, something like that, something that would help people get better at dictation, because my I wasn't really good at spelling things, and that's perhaps why my favorite subject was lunch in school. Yeah, so there's your answer. There you go.
Beautiful. And just bear with me for a little bit. And what really drove you to create Whisper Boy?
That's a fantastic question. So I watched a lot of material, and then I realized there is some lies that people are being told in the industry of self-development. And on Instagram, I started this movement where I would whisper things, and because I watched a lot of ASMR videos, and I understood that there are people who actually like whispering and really
it's sure it's a beautiful name
voices. Yeah. So my motto and my slogan was, in a world where lies are being shouted at each other, I'd rather whisper the truth. And then I became the whisper boy.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. Well, you asked me about what would I do with my podcast. I'd like to interview interesting people to create a list of companies, connection for possibly people who need guidance, to select them to do business or trade with them. Build a link of these concrete companies that people can say, well, yeah, I'm going to send my money to this guy and I could trust him because I listened to him over here. So I want to interview a lot of the founders, get a little insight, and interject, if it's a 30-second podcast, in between, stage each question to pretty much bring out the best of the reality that we're trying to seek. So that would be mine. And then on the other part with the name, I don't want to say the name, but it's going to be something interesting to that point. Evaluating companies and bringing out ideas, inspiring people how to dream, how to put it into real life, and the association of different services, and what brings out the quality of developing a brand. That would be where my head would be on this matter. Thank you, and hope everybody having a beautiful day. It's great here.
Cyrus, can I say something here,
so
please?
Much. Yeah, please go ahead.
BJ, I just wanted to just say something about your business and what you do. Wholesaling, buying, dealing, trading, liquidation, all that stuff.
I thanks for saying that. Okay, well, I have an insight about, and I learned it from some great people, how to buy acquired collateral. And when you go to the bank, the first thing they ask is, do you have any collateral? And I felt so like, oh my God, collateral. How am I going to tackle this thing? Collateral. I got to get it out of my way. Okay. So in this whole formalized concept that came was a lot of young people who are going through this situation with making collateral happen. There's a whole robust drive in the economy with reclamation and recycling and buying or developing brands or dealing with companies, working with different suppliers to end retailers who have learned through the experience of extending credit to them at 30 days when there was a good economy in brick and mortar. We'd buy these deals from different companies, go through them, pick out the best, align them, and go to trade shows and put them up, and a guy walk past and he buys. So he buys 30 piece, he buy 100 piece, and the business built from there. How a lot of people, they don't know this when they come into money, how to cross exchange ideas to if they didn't do well in school, they want to become reflective in what you say, that developing a good rapport in their economy, not their economy, but they're in their neighborhoods, becoming merchants. A lot of these things are not taught in the classroom, and I would like to bring this vision to young people that they can pretty much buy for 10 cents on the dollar to 30 cents on the dollar.
So here's an idea for you, BJ. Here's an idea. I used to work with a lot of, I used to close a lot of businesses down, unfortunately. I also saved a lot of companies, but in that time, there was obviously a lot of stocks that got liquidated or was reclaimed.
2 cents on the dollar.
Exactly. So here's the thing. There are a lot of kids who fail through the normal education system. There are a lot of kids who don't attend school for whatever reason, but they're not stupid. They've got probably more streetwise, they're more capable of wheeling and dealing and ducking and diving, but have got something about them, a bit of charisma, if you like. That's their collateral, is their charisma. And they're being able to come to the BJ Coombs School of whatever you want to call it, but I would call it the BJ Coombs School of Sales or the BJ Coombs Sales School. And basically all you're going to do is give them, like a mini university, you're giving them a mini course in how to become business people. And you're already doing it, but people don't know about it. And that would be, for me, an opportunity that people would lap up. If you can get the inventory, you can get your hands on the inventory, and you can get the finances in place, then that would be one of the...
This is where you don't understand, is that the inventory is already there through the association. When I say this, it is because you don't know it. It's not told to everyone. So what I'm saying with the general body of my experience, I know a little bit more. So my point is I'm just releasing a book, which is a multi-brand buying guide, and it pretty much gonna streamline the 4 section of the marketplace. Whether you are a produce vendor, grower, and you're growing your crop and they're not reaching market, how to get connected to what do you call this? Different programs with buyers that can reach the marketplace. The guy who wants to do his brand and wants to build his own Nike or his own, he can go and find through the whole mechanism here how to build his brand.
Sorry for interrupting there, BJ. Can I please ask you?
That's okay.
What is it that's stopping you from, what's stopped you from creating your podcast? Because the idea is there.
I am, right now I'm tied up with writing the book and a lot of other different businesses. So it's just like when I started the whole multi-brand concept, it was the MULTI. And then somebody started it in India, and then I had to change it to MULTY.
Yeah.
And then I was the first person in Google building decks of links to it until a lot of people jump onto it. So my ideas from then is pretty much, it's a long time ago I've been envisioning this, and
yes.
and why it hasn't come together is because when I was tied up with brick and mortar, I couldn't really lend myself to it, and the more I get extended away from it from Corona.
Right, BJ, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Just because we're running out of time, and we have to be respectful of time for everybody here.
And you need to build a good team, and trust is the whole commodity.
Sure.
Commodity in this.
Yeah.
Who do you trust? Who do you lay your guards down to?
Yes, BJ. I'm sorry.
It comes back down to your reputation, and then that's been. I have lost a lot of money with some companies in California, $24,000
Yes.
trying to build.
Yes. So BJ,
that shied me away.
Yes, sure. I'm very sorry for interrupting you. We're running out of time. Just very quickly, guys, the experience that BJ just shared with us is absolutely valuable to us, guys. Okay, so I'm going to use BJ's example and give you 2 choices. So those 2 choices are for you as well, BJ. So you can patiently wait until everything is ready and all the stars align before you start your podcast. You can also start it. And remember, when you start a podcast, before the moment you start it and the moment it catches on, there's going to be 6 months to a year kind of wait time. And it's going to get viral, but it's going to take a while. It's not going to be overnight. Okay. So Paulette's advice is still stands, because she's the business guru here. So what I'm trying to explain here is, waiting is one of the things that sacrifices your and kills your podcasting initiative, right? So waiting until the moment. And by the way, I have found a brand name for you, which is Multi-Brand Land. Multi-brand land. Okay, so that's just a suggestion. Please have a think about it. So if you decide to go ahead with it, just go ahead and buy the brand name now. Buy the which is MULTY, by the way. Purchase that if it suits you. Don't purchase it if you're against it. Okay, so you have the choices. As long as you have choices, you'll never feel stuck or alone. Okay, so and you are 1,000,000% right about creating a team, BJ. But please, everybody, please remember, thinking about cooking is not going to fill you up. Thinking about podcasting is not going to give you a podcast. And that is what I discussed with Paulette a few weeks ago, right? So go ahead and record for 7 minutes. Solve a problem, and the message I'm going to give you guys that's going to perhaps, if you're serious enough, that's going to make you a millionaire, is don't think of you when you're creating the podcast, when you're creating a product. Think of your audience. Think of the consumer. Okay, so you have to be, what you're doing should be consumer centric. Okay, so keep that person who's going to purchase it from you in mind. Okay, and when it comes to podcasting, you matter, but customer matters more, because they're the ones who are going to be paying your bills for you. They're going to be purchasing the product for you. So there are two types of podcasters. Type one, they are just caring about what they want to say, and they do say what they want to say, and they would happily listen to themselves, and they are so proud of it. Type two, they are the smarter ones who actually think about what the customer wants, give the customer what they want, and they get paid for it. Simple as that, right? So keep your customer in mind. Find out what the customer wants and talk about it. If you don't have an idea, go online and say, guys, I don't have an idea, but you need an episode to be on there. And then people will come to you and say, oh, here's an idea. Do this, do that, right? But I cannot send BJ and the rest of the amazing people who have ideas, right? I can't send people to the podcast you haven't created yet. So imagine if Matthew or Islam or Paulette or Natalie or any, they need to listen to your podcast. I'm going to tell them, sorry, guys, I would send you to BJ's podcast. However, he is busy with other projects. And that is the reason why he hasn't got a podcast yet, right? So that is not going to solve their problem. That is not going to solve your problem, right? Because the book that you are writing, the fact that you don't have a podcast to advertise your book is concerning. If it was me, I would be concerned about it, right? I am writing a book, and I go to different people's audio rooms, and I also mention it in my different podcast episodes. Like, guys, by the way, I am writing a book. So I am preparing my market in advance. I'm preparing the minds to expect a book is coming up soon. Simple as that. So you don't have to change anything in your life, really. You just have to talk about the book that you are writing. You just did. And I have something to talk about. I have BJ Combs' book, right? So he is writing a book, guys. Expect it. Okay. So, and you have to, as Paulette says here, you have to build up a community around your book. So if you build that community before the book is released, and this comes from who? This comes from Paulette Hallam. She's an author. She's already an existing author. She's gone through thin and thick of it, right? So create that community, the community will be ready, right? So all of these songs that we are creating, all of this, so we are making a song and dance about Leslie Flowers' book, aren't we? Right? So make a fuss about it. Just get people to talk about it, right? If it's not out there, they won't be able to talk about it. The book is not there. Yeah, I know that. But it will be at some point. That book will be there. So we are going towards the end of the episode, guys. I just want to thank April, Omar, Joshua, Selena, Leslie, Yima, Michael. I'm not sure why Michael's not on the stage yet. Michael, Tajuddin, Jay. I'm not sure why Jay's not on the stage yet. Dentist, Sandra, Linda, Zara, and Christina. Zara and Christina's been there since the get-go. Thank you so much. So if you guys want to add something and talk about a podcast, please go ahead and join the stage. So I'm going to go back to Ennio's song.
I just want to say this.
Yeah, please go ahead, Vijay.
I have the book posted on my my site, so everyone can go and look at it over there.
Please please say your website, and also please post it in the comments.
No, it's on my LinkedIn page. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. Please post it in the comment section as well. To give people more opportunities to see it.
Yes.
So these rooms, you're welcome. These rooms are designed to give you guys more exposure, if you will. Jay Pascua, how's it going, my friend? And what podcast would you create, my friend, and why?
Keep it short. We're going soon, Jay.
So, to Annie's credit, right? He's a really good publisher, but also a really great marketing genius. And so, to his credit, right? Speak often and speak about what it is that you're trying to do. He says that a lot in a lot of the rooms that he does. So, just following the advice that he's given over the years, I guess, on LinkedIn, and in a lot of the LinkedIn audio events that I've listened to. So I am in the middle of publishing a book with Annie and his company. And the book is called The Rules of Engagement in Storytelling. And as you know, I'm the storytelling strategist, and I believe storytelling is really important for a lot of reasons, right? It's the core of how we communicate with one another, and it's been that way for ages. And so this is why I'm basically sharing this right now. And the podcast, what I've decided to do is record these LinkedIn audio events and share it in a podcast form. I like the interaction. To your point, right? There's two types of podcasts. I don't like just to be a talking head or the voice, right? I want there to be interaction, and I want people to share their stories. Otherwise, it's a soliloquy, it's me teaching, and that's not the purpose of me wanting to do this. I want to hear your stories. And so Storytime with Jay and Friends exists in LinkedIn, but I'm also considering making it podcast. And then the other one is The Rules of Engagement and Storytelling. So these are the two podcasts.
Which I'm a fan of.
Thank you.
You know what, Jay? When I came to your room, first day I came to your room, I didn't know I was going to write. I am in the process of writing 2 books at the same time. And when I listened to your teachings and your views on storytelling, and when I and your rooms are certainly not soliloquy, and they're certainly not monotonous, and they are quite nuanced and interesting and engaging. And I think that's where the rules of engagement comes from. So we're going to continue this. Please Bear with me for a few moments. Jack and Walter, Bob Paulette Hallam. So can you see, guys, when the book is out there, when the podcast is out there, there's something to advertise. So going back to Jay, Jay, you obviously you know it, but you incentivize people to write by just talking. You don't even tell them to go ahead and write your story. You just you don't need to do that, because talking to you and listening to you gives people the idea to write something, right? So you inspire people. Do people come back to you and say, come to our podcast and talk about the books and stuff? I hope they do.
They do.
Well,
I've actually been invited as a result of a lot of people coming onto my show. And so, it's like the ability to cross promote. I get it. Really, the impetus for it is to encourage people. And I'm glad that you're saying what you're saying, but I think there's so many people out there who believe that they're not storytellers. If you are able to communicate, you're a storyteller, right?
You're only not a storyteller when you're not telling a story.
That's right. But, and again, I'm going to say this, people don't realize at the core of effective communication, it's a story.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's fictional or nonfiction, or, it's a data-driven story, that's really up to you, the person who's telling the story.
Jay,
that story is.
Jay, if I may please use you as an example here. Guys,
sure.
Please look at this example that I'm using here, right? Look at Jay Pasqua. He has found a problem. The problem is people not telling their stories. He has found a solution. And more importantly, he has used himself as a solution. He's turned himself into the solution, right? So months ago, I went to his room. I got inspired. I started writing my book. And fast forward a few months, today in this audio room, I am appreciating him amongst these amazing men and women who are in this room, and explaining to him, you solved my problem. I will be advertising you. So if he had turned himself into if he had not turned himself into the solution, I would not have been able to start writing my book, and I would not have been able to apply that solution, right? So I understand that you have to leave. Please go ahead and say a few words before you do, and I will wait for a few moments. Please go ahead, Annie.
Thank you, everyone that's joined us. Interesting conversation, of course. Choosing your title of your podcast is an important thing, but I don't think that don't let it do you in. I think having the vision, the concept, as you're saying, Cyrus, how we're going to help people is what it's all about, really. Of course, what you call it does matter, right?
Yes.
So it might harken back to Paulette's point. Maybe the only name that's not taken is your personal name, your brand, your personal brand. So I like the idea of calling your podcast something to do with your name, because no one can ever take that away from you, right?
That's absolutely
right. My friends, I promised my son, couldn't say time to cook. I've got 20 minutes to go and cook with him now, so we need to go.
Sure. Thank you so much, Annie. So, Jay, so you were saying, sorry for interrupting you. Please go ahead.
No, really, I think that one of the things that you mentioned, I mean, it's the truth right there. If a lot of people who start businesses, not just podcasts, but businesses, right?
Yep.
There's a solution, but people focus on the solution, not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And if you figured out that there's a problem out there that people need fixed, that's where the business comes in. That's where the service of the product comes in. Somebody mentioned, the chicken before the egg, right? Well, that's it.
Yeah.
And so you make a very good point. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Jay. But just please, guys, remember, don't get too philosophical about it, right? Don't get all philosophical about it. Create your podcast, okay? You can actually create a podcast about whether there was chicken or hen, or the egg first. Okay, so was it the chicken or was it the egg? As long as you have a podcast, okay, you will be able to give your business a boost. I see businesses that are suffering and they still don't have a podcast, right? And this day and age, podcasting is self-published anyway. You don't need my help or somebody else's help. You can do it yourself. Please go ahead and give your business a boost. Do yourself a favor, right?
Cyrus, can I just have one word, please?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
It was just about something Jay said, and I just wanted to pick him up on it because the thing about the storytelling, we believe that everybody has a story in them. We believe that everybody can tell that story, but it's not until they have to stand up at their daughter's wedding and make the big grandiose speech that they panic and they fear and they wonder, can I do it? Will I be able to? And, you might have said a few words in a room here and there, but you've never had to sell them in front of 130 guests. And you don't want to let your family down. You don't want to let your daughter down. You've got to pitch it right. Then there's the whole, literally doing a big PR exercise. You need to be able to have the right pitch and the right way of telling that story. Every story is different. And yet the same credentials are needed for every story. So it's back to making a cake. Ennie's are going off to cook. Jay has got all the ingredients in his book on how to tell that story. So he can fix not one problem, but every problem.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paulette. So I just wanted to tell you guys that if you have the idea, that idea of that podcast will not create itself. Go ahead and create it. That's my message to you guys. It's going to take a while before it takes off. So the sooner you start it, the sooner it will take off. And it will take as long as it takes you before you start that podcast. And one of the things that people tell me that stops them is the name of the podcast. So does the name matter? There's two answers to this question. The Christmas answer or the real answer? Let me give you the Christmas answer first. Does it matter? Oh yeah, it's very important. Well, it is important to some extent. It's important for your search engine optimization. How relevant is the name to your subject matter? That's how important it is. And it matters if it's not irrelevant. So if I was if I was going to create a show about cooking, I would include something about cooking. I wouldn't call it dreaming about stars. That doesn't bring cooking to mind, does it? Right? But if I call it the magic stove, or I don't know,
a bud in the oven.
Yeah, there you go. So now the real answer. Nobody cares what the name of your show is. Nobody cares what you call your show, really. Nobody cares about your domain name. Don't spend too much energy on that, my friends. Okay? I'm just saying that out of experience. I have friends who stopped a podcast because they had this difference of opinion. There was two of them. They live in Manchester, and I went to one of their recording sessions, and there was this difference of opinion that stopped the whole podcast altogether. And I asked them separately, so what was the issue? And he was like, the other one doesn't agree to use my name. And I spoke to the second one, and he said, the first one doesn't agree, doesn't even consider, because we started the show with his preferred name. I was like, so the podcast, the whole train is derailed because you guys don't agree with each other. So don't focus on you. So that would be too egocentric, right? Focus on your customers. Now, you can imagine from the customers and listeners' point of view. So there's a lot of people thinking, what happened? There was like a few episodes, and then these two guys stopped. We enjoyed it. Why is it that these two can't get over their differences? Like Gallagher brothers in the United Kingdom. Recently, they are from Manchester. Oasis, the band called Oasis. So after a long while, I don't know, 15, 20 years of sibling rivalry and stroke differences, they decided to come together again. And they are brothers. They are blood brothers, right? And they had these rift between them, and that stopped that affected their music career. So people don't care what you name your podcast. You care what you name your podcast. Okay, it's time to wake up and smell the coffee, right? If you've been thinking,
Cyrus.
Yeah, please.
Cyrus, could I say something?
Please go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you this. It's there's a thing about trade secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want everybody to just glance over this. What Sarah says is nice when you have the split personality. One is to protect yourself, and one is always think to sign confidential agreements. I'm gonna give you a real life story. I used to be in the body shop business. And I run.
Please keep it to 2 minutes, BJ. Please.
Yeah. I run a Goodyear franchise business, and I wanted to buy the whole page of the yellow page. And the lady came over to my office, and when we made the deal, my company was First General Automotive, and it was gonna be too far down in the search. So I came up with Auto Express.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave her the idea for Auto Express. She took that idea and sold it to Montgomery Wards. Such is the case of another chain of stores I used to own called Big Fire Sales Insurance Claim in Houston, Texas. And before I know it, Kmart people was in my store looking why the stores were doing so good. And they went and they named their store Big Kmart. So let me explain to you. Sometimes your ideas, they are magnetic, they're electric. You keep them to yourself because they rhyme. The energy that comes out of them, people will just take them away from you. So I just wanted to say that. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, it's all right, my friend. It's fine. The solution to that situation is, if you find it too personal, don't share it. Okay? But create your show. Talk about things, right? Talk about things that you can share. And keep it short and sweet. Keep it really, really short and sweet, like me, right? So you need to make sure it's not too long for people's liking, and people's attention span is more or less 8 seconds. Keep them engaged certainly for the first 8 seconds of your podcast or whatever material you are making. And if you feel like the subject matter that you're discussing is too personal, or strategically speaking is too sensitive for your business and the outcomes you are trying to achieve, please don't share that with anybody until you feel confident, until it is strategically a meaningful move to make. So Angelica Corral is on the stage now. Angelica, thank you so much. She's a podcaster, guys, a very successful one. Thank you so much for joining, Angelica. How are you today, my friend?
I'm great. Apologize for being late. For some reason, I thought that our podcast, our room was later.
Oh, that's fine.
But I'm here.
What really matters is that you made it to the room, and you just made my day. Just seeing you on the stage makes everybody's day. People love you, Angelica, and you are respected and loved. And same as Jay, Matthew, BJ, Paulette, and Annie, Sandra, Linda, Christine, Tajuddin, Michael, Joshua, Leslie, Yima, Omar, April, Christy, Islam, Professor Roxanne, and Dentist. Same as all of these amazing people. You are loved and respected. So with regards to podcasting, we discussed the fact that you have to get over your fears. Paulette said that, and that Paulette got over her fears. Well, maybe not so much fears. She had concerns. She had worries. Yeah, you can call it what you want, but there were stuff stopping her, right? So if you don't have a podcast, maybe it's not for you. But let me tell you something that is definitely for you: having more sales of your products and services. That's what you deserve. And podcasting gives you that opportunity. Storytelling gives you that opportunity. And also, Jasmine Ofor is on the stage as well. She says Cyrus is fantastic at podcasting. I'm not, Jasmine, please don't start rumors like that. So record one episode. If you feel that your business is not getting the results that you wanted to get, if you're not getting the results that you want, and remember, there's always room for improvement, right? If you're not getting those results, please definitely start your podcast. Okay. And I've got Mo Molly Sobola asking a question. How do you go about getting a podcast going? So record the first episode. That's how. Okay. So 7 minutes, problem, solution, product. That structure in that order, exactly, right? And then record it. Talk to someone about it. Get someone to listen to it, right? Just talk to your brother, to your sister. Pay them. Sit down here and listen. And here's $20. Listen and listen to my podcast, right? And I sometimes create a podcast and go to Paulette and Annie and beg them, threaten them to listen to my episode and give me, please give me feedback, right? You have to find a really honest focus group, people you trust, and people who people who are actually honest enough to give you real feedback. When I create a music track, the first people I go to is Ennio Song and Paulette Hallam, Angelica Coral, and just get them to listen to it. And they listen to, Jasmine Ofori is one of the first people I usually go to as well. Sometimes I send Jasmine a raw material, like something I haven't even refined yet, and I send her and I say, so what do you think of this music track? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I did that with Leslie Flowers the other day. I sent her the track and I said, do you like it? Do you not like it? And she was impressed, and she just texted me, wow. And that made my day. So these honest people, they will give you honest feedback. So the solution is create the first episode, 7 minutes, not longer. If you can solve somebody's problem for in 7 minutes, why would you make them suffer for an hour and a half of listening to you, right? Give them the opportunity to have their problem solved in 7 minutes. Think about it yourself. If you had a problem and I was the solution, or I had the solution, would you have liked me to solve it for you in 7 minutes or 5 minutes? Or would you have wanted me to solve that problem for you for 2 hours? Speaking of 2 hours, we have been on this live broadcast for nearly 2 hours now. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Gloom to Boom. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I learned from you guys. I hope you got you got value from this episode, and it was definitely another nice experience for me. I would like to thank everybody on the stage, Annie, Angelica, Paulette, Matthew, BJ Combs, and Jay Pasca. Guys, final comments before we wind down and bring the show to a close. Paulette, please go ahead.
I think look fear in the eye and say, I can do it, because I did it and the evidence is there for all to hear and see. So if I can do it, anyone can, because I was terrified that I wouldn't sound the right voice. So I had COVID. I've got very a raspy voice sometimes. So I was worried it would sound awful, not very childlike or friendly. And then I get told it's fine, it's good, go with it. So there we are. I've done it. I'm happy with it. And I will sit down and listen to the whole thing now with my family, which is what we were planning to do. So yeah, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Cyrus.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And Paulette Hallam has a podcast called Jack and Walter. And the first episode has been released, and this is what it sounds like. It's about childhood fears, guys. You sound beautiful, Paula. That was a phenomenal episode. I highly recommend this. And soon she will be on Spotify too. So, Angelica, you haven't been on the show for long. But what would your closing comments be for our fantastic audience today?
My closing comments when you're doing a podcast is to just focus on the other person that's there. Let them speak their mind. When you're having a conversation with someone that's on your podcast, they're your guest. They're the main event. So they're the ones that get the attention. We just had one with Sandra, who's in the audience.
Oh, fantastic.
And she got to focus on her book. So that's my closing remark, that when you're doing a podcast, and Islam as well, we did an audio room, soon to do a podcast with him as well. So that's what I think is important. Focus on the other person and have a lot of fun. So thanks a lot for letting me speak. Back over to you.
Thank you so much. Jay, any closing comments, please?
Absolutely. I guess it's the cliche phrase, with every great journey, it starts with a single step. And if you agonize over how you're going to take that first step, you're never going to get there. You're never going to get through that destination. You're never going to be able to do it. Stop. Just put one foot in front of the other. That's it.
I'm sure you have experienced that yourself. You had lots of ups and downs in what you did as well, Jay, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You dealt with tornado. It was only a small tornado, only a couple of them.
Yeah, first off, I'm from Guam and I live in Alabama. And how is it that I have experienced not one, but 2 tornadoes?
That's your national export, isn't it?
Oh my God. Yeah, here in Alabama, absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's not so funny when you're in the middle of it, though.
No.
Not a funny matter. Not a funny matter.
But you can look back on things like this, right? And you're never going to have these experiences. You're never going to be able to experience that journey without just moving forward, even in the midst of struggle, adversity, or whatever it is that you're going through. You just have to keep pushing through. Go, start, move. That's it.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much, Jay. You never cease to amaze us and inspire us. Okay, so next we have Matthew. Any closing comments, Matthew, from yourself?
Just glad to be in here. I feel somewhat inspired by everyone's comments, and I do like to implicate I would like to implicate collaboration. Sometimes I you get that feeling where you kind of want to collaborate, or I guess you from what I'm hearing, you can do it on your own. But I think it's important to implicate both, and maybe somewhere down along the lines. But I guess taking that first step on your own is kind of a way to show that you can prove you can prove yourself that you can. Is what I'm taking on.
Definitely. Some of our friends keep telling themselves, I'll do it later, right? So let's such and such thing happen first, then I will create a podcast, right? Let me go through this problem first, then I'll do that later. But my message to you guys is, what if you create the podcast that you always wanted to create, right? Whoever does it for you, or if you do it yourself, if somebody else does it for you. But remember, you're losing time, right? You might find yourself in difficult situations in the future. Something that happened like COVID. When COVID happened, people didn't see it coming, right? So let me send you guys another message, and this is for those of us who are waiting for a great opportunity that they've been waiting for a long time. Okay, so this one is called Later. Later is in the habit of turning into never. Please always remember that message, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for joining another fantastic episode of From Gloom to Boom. And I want to thank Paulette, Angelica, Matthew, BJ, and Jay Pasqua, BJ, and Paulette. I think you guys. No, sorry. I think BJ is the last person who didn't speak. Before we bring it to a close, I just want to hear what BJ thinks as well as a closing comments.
On top of the hour, you're with Barrington Combs, and we'd love to dive into what makes you tingle about business and its growth. today we will interview Cyprus and his whole dream of becoming. That's me. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, BJ. So guys, I wish you a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are based. See you guys in 2 weeks. And the good news is we're gonna have a live audio room called Spodlight, Spodlight, and in that episode we're gonna in that podcast we're gonna be talking about ways to create the podcast and ways to monetize it, right? So it's just a way of supporting YouTubers and podcasters. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you a lovely morning, afternoon, and evening. Take good care of yourselves and take good care of each other. Thank you so much.